Professor Ashbaker and a number of other people who've worked on this particular project, but I don't know if you know who he is or what he's done, but I'll just give you a few highlights. From his operatic debut in his hometown, the New Orleans Opera, to his appearance as one of the new three tenors, he has delighted audiences in North America, South America, and Europe. He's performed at all the major opera houses of the world, including the Metropolitan Opera, where I heard him as Énée in Berlioz' Les Troyens, which is not me. You and Susan Ryan together with this.
Oh, thank you.
And he's sung at the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden, where he is returning his tune to sing Mario Cavaradossi and Puccini's Tosca. And he's sung at La Scala Milano, San Francisco Opera, Santa Fe Opera. The list goes on. He's won numerous competitions, including the George London Foundation and most significantly the Beverly Sills Award, which is awarded by the Metropolitan Opera to the outstanding singer of the year. Wow. Well, I could go on and on, but I'm not going to take up the time. He's all over the internet. You can watch him, you can hear him, and so forth. Welcome, Bryan.
Thank you. Should I leave this on? You guys can still hear me, right? Okay, I thought so. But no, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to see so many of you guys here. I'm thrilled to have such great singers here, and just my sincere appreciation to everybody who made it possible for me to come and to help me out. I'm doing this wonderful MVP program for Masters in Vocal Pedagogy, and I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it. It's a great tool for us to be able to do because it's all online, and I'm telling everybody I know about it. So I'm really thrilled to be here, and let's have our first singer. Let's do it. So now I know that you're one of those people who's like, oh gosh, I'm so nervous, and then you're gonna get up and just sing beautifully, really, really, really well, which is great. Listen, you know, I mean, your legato is really, really beautiful, and it's so important, especially in Mozart, especially in these things. I just would encourage you to, on right here on the duolo, on the fast notes, don't think that you have to place each one of those notes, right? Like so, because what it does is it breaks up this gorgeous legato that you've given us in Porgy and More. The other thing was that, and this is probably a nerves thing, but I just want to encourage you to breathe a little, like during the you know, we didn't do the whole thing, right? You know, we're not on stage. But you know, if I just take one breath that I don't have to sing on, this just kind of like allows the muscles to be like, oh, they're nervous. Oh, let me let them go. Okay, now I can actually take the breath that I need to sing. Because although your legato was beautiful, I think it's hard for me to tell because I can't see how open your mouth is. I'm trying to judge here with this. But I just feel like you could pour it out just ever so slightly more. I mean, just put that in your mind and think about it. Oh, could I have not? Maybe I don't know your voice that well, but I know that you're doing a lot of great things. Can we just go back and start there? And when we get to al mio duolo, not duo, I'm exaggerating for the point, right? But just duolo. There we go. Breathe once. Let it out. Breathe in. Let it out. You know how much time you have. And now get ready. I would breathe now. Crescendo. Oh, that was, by the second note, you really got it well. The first one, it was your old habit. But I just wanted to make sure that you do it. Now that I'm closer to you, I can hear, listen, you know, there's all kinds of ways to talk about support and what we're doing in here. Because of where I've come from and what in my own singing, it's better for me to think about the air faster than supporting more. Because if I think supporting more, I'm strong. But it's not the way we want to sing, right? We want it to be like, let faster air come through as opposed to harder. You hear the difference? We don't want that. You're not doing that. But can we go, the other thing, let's just pick up where we left off and go on, oh, mira, same thing here, right? Don't go, oh, mira, and I'm exaggerating. Just let it, it's more of a trombone than it is a trumpet. You don't understand what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, here, we're doing, or on the piano. It's more string-like. We want to make sure that the tubing of your voice and your throat stays the same, and it's just the little stretch that does the changing of the pitch. You want to measure it too? Maybe, yeah. Let's go right on it. Good breath?
Sorry.
One more time. Do you want to measure? Maybe just give it. You got it? All right, fine. Great, let's go. It's better. You like that? Keep going. And in general, you need faster air to go up, especially on a leap like that. Yeah, let's do that. Before we get to it, I want to make sure that when you're going up your scale to O mi lasciarmi morir, that again, you encourage the air to pour out as it goes up there, because you're saying like, oh, let me at least die. Right? You know what I mean? And so it's like you're not going to shy away from that. If you're going to say that, you got to say it. Right? Okay, so let's go the before O mi lascia the second time. Breathing, breathing, breathing. Let it out, breathe in. Beautiful. What are you saying? Let me die. You're going to say it again. Breathe. Got to give a little R. Go ahead. tesoro. You went my beloved. You got to give it a little bit there, right? I'm not trying to take you out of the beautiful legato that you have, but you got, it's mio tesoro, my sweetheart. Just that little bit much. How can we get into this? I love the, when you've said, lasciami morir, and you change, you're doing it vocally. I would love to see some kind of physical, you know, back to the something there, even if it's just a change in your focus from whatever, wherever you're looking for. Let's me. Okay. So let's go. Porgi amor pace. Out there. You're saying, oh me, which vowel are you choosing for that?
Oh me, ren.
You're not singing that.
Okay.
You're singing oh mi ren.
Okay.
Oh mi rendo. Because when you're going to go up, you're going to give yourself the space because there's only 3 notes to do it, right? From the B flat to the E flat, and then you're going to have to go over the G. Okay. So you're either going to say oh mi ren, oh mi. No, let's not do it. Oh mi ren, oh mi ren. You hear how it gets stuck. You want to have that over it. Okay. Can we get in there? I see you have written here in this on mi lascia sai, right?
Yeah.
Can we get a little bit more of that?
Okay.
Leave me. Oh, mi lascia. Just let me die. You don't even like hold me as I die. Just go away and just let me die.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of that. Double those, right? Lasciami morire. Okay. They do that, right? Like when, you know, the doubles in Italian, like the garlic and the, you know, all those spices and the oregano, the things they love to put in there. And that's what is the spice and the flavor of their language. And if you hear them speak it, it's just like, wow, you understand why opera was born in this place, because they're practically singing when they're just talking on the street, right? Hey, give me a pizza. You know, I think it has all of this kind of stuff, and I'm not in any way making fun of it. I mean, I've been there. If you don't speak like that, they're like, huh? Like, oh, okay. Listen, I thought it was really great. Do you have anything that you'd like to ask me? We've done about 15-ish minutes. Is there anything? I think this is great. This is a great stepping stone, obviously, to Dove Sono. But the beautiful thing is that your O's on these F's, which, you know, it's tough. It's to get it nice and beautiful and clean. I think, I'm sure your teacher, if you haven't already sung it, would encourage you to go in that direction. I mean, Mozart, for your voice, I mean, you're perfect, Contessa. So, is there anything you have? What else do you sing, just curiously? Like, if you were to, what's your package of things you're working on?
There were 2 songs that I had offered for the master class.
Okay.
And then Swan.
Oh, yeah. The Stroud, I understand. I mean, it's clear, right? Not just the sound of the voice, the color, everything about it. Also I mean, I would love to hear you sing it some other time, maybe in the next one. Just something with a little more slancio, but it's so impressive to hear, you know, a voice of substance be able to sing so beautifully. Congratulations, really. What we got? Oh, great. Perfect. I probably don't need it, but maybe if I do, I have it. Okay, it's great. I love this aria. It's so much fun. I love your dress with the aria. I love everything about it. It doesn't give us that much time to work, but there are just a couple of things. I love when you take the stage. I love when you say, don't do the same thing every time, right? Just find some, whatever. You need probably 4 or 5 gestures that are like, I'm going to take the stage here. And whether it's like that one, like where you go like this, or even if it's just a change over here, or maybe like a contrasting, you know, because you've walked in and you're like, well, who is this? It's like, oh, it's like Rusalka kind of coming in and you're like, all right. And you sing this song about, you know, about profitant, about making the most, of getting the most out of being young. One thing that I would encourage you to do is you stay on the air, because at the end when you went up to the high notes, when you let the air bring you up there as opposed to placing it, which I know there's staccato, right? But you've got to keep the same feeling of the air bringing you up there and not getting like, eh. Yeah. I'm exaggerating, right? I'm sure that's not the first time that somebody's told you to do that. I mean, it's every singer when they go higher, we want to try and keep it with that same kind of there. Let us go. There are there are just a couple of things. You need to differentiate your open E, like vrai, because they're a little bit in the cracks, right? It's not that it's not open. It's certainly not closed, but it's not open enough. And to a French person's ear, it sounds like that person doesn't speak French. Not that we expect you to, but we want to get as close as we can, right? Consonne, vu, oh. Here's, I'm not sure exactly where it is in here, but je suis. You've got to get, you have to, it seems very odd to us because we spend so much of our time trying to get our diphthongs out of English, but in this you really need to do it. Nuit, suis, it doesn't sound right to them. They're like, oh, it's so American, and they just don't like it. Can we go, is this easy to get in here? Je suis better, je suis. Maybe there's a better place to get. Oh gosh.
If we go from.
Yeah, let's go from Les Troyens, when you're talking about the fancy guys that come in and just go in there, and I just want to make sure that we get the suivi, and when you go up, that we don't squeeze down on it, right? Les Grands. Hold on a second. Take me a real breath. That sounded like a catch breath, like, oh, I want to go. We don't have a lot of time, but I don't want to rush you in this. It's really important. Try and like go like, ooh, I'm gonna throw a dart up there. Je suis pas. The thing is, you leave the you leave it open and just put the air right back through the same place, imagining that you've gone up a sixth, right? that does? It's a mental trick to just think, oh, leave my throat in the same position on that high note as I had on that low note. And I think it worked, did it not? You guys think? You felt it, right?
Yeah.
Great. So now that we've gotten that, can we go profitant? Whichever one you want. I just want to, maybe let's go to the one that's on here. Do we have the same page numbers? That's the last page. Yeah. Whoops. Just because that's got the really high notes in it. More. Profit. It's like La Donna Mobile, right? You gotta have fun.
Okay.
If we don't see your charm, we don't understand why he's gonna give everything up for you, right? Go ahead. Even more. That's like a 2 or a 3. Would you agree? She could do more. It sounds more fun to go profito. It's almost like a drinking song in that way, right? Come on, show us what you got. Still, you could do more. Do the most you think you listen, I'm not doing this to put you on the spot, but to make a point that oftentimes we have to exaggerate what our teacher is asking us to do so much to get out of the quote box that we think of what is acceptable. And this is a good way to stretch your legs and be like, oh, I can do that. We'll let you know if it sounds ridiculous. It's not going to. One more time and we go on regardless. Do it again. Do it. You want to keep it open so when you go, you're open. It's the same trick as on the back. Okay. Now, tell me what intellectually, okay, so I know no 20 ans, right? We have 20 years, not even. What vowel are you going to pick? And are you going to modify it at any point through that, like, 10-note scale up? Just, I ask you because it's not clear to me what you're going to do. And if you don't have a plan, then you're probably either just going to get lucky or you're not going to get lucky, right? And we want to try and set it up to where you're going to have the best great high note at the end of the aria that you're going to have. So,
I usually just like
but it's not oo though, right? It's never oo. It's just no the whole time.
Yeah, it's no, but
I think the reason why I say that is, listen, you can modify in that way. Lots of people have ways of modifying. Some of them I get, some of them I like. Well, if it works for you, that's great. But I think not going too closed in that part. You want to encourage the air to move in the middle, right? So can we just go, no, I guess.
okay.
Where do you breathe? You breathe before no?
Yeah.
So just start from where you breathe.
So just
No.
okay. I breathe before no.
Okay, then right on no. Okay. Yeah, you need to open it up before you need to open it up sooner.
Okay.
Do it note by note. No. Open. Yeah, great. And I think if we don't do it that slowly, did you feel like that? I think you opened that time around like E, F sharp, G as opposed to not G. Yeah. Which is too late. Can we do it one more time, a little bit faster, and let's see, go for that, what is that, is it D at the top? Yeah. Spin the heck out of that air, right? Stretch, spin, fast. Nope, you doing it more slowly, you made sure purposefully that you knew which vowel you were saying. This way you had started with 2 great vowels and then just slurred them together, like, oh, they're just gonna smear that. No. Do it slow enough to where you can still get a good vowel, but fast enough to where you have enough air at the end.
Okay.
Now listen, after the high D, which was great that time, I thought, the 20 ans is like, it's a great high note, but we also want to hear, how old is she not? She's not 20 yet?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, she is young, but she's very sophisticated and for being so young. One more time, and then I think we have to go to the next singer. And have fun. Open. Great job. Yeah. Great. I wish that you didn't have to wear a mask because I suspect that your mouth is, that your vowels are a little bit wider than they should be. And if I could see your mouth, I could be certain of it. But I still think I trust enough. It's just a little bit too, listen, I know this is a very conversational piece, quand je vous aimerai, but you still have to do it through the lens of quand je vous aimerai. Otherwise, we get it just has mouth resonance and it doesn't have any of the bloom, especially when we go up to the top. There was one time when you went up, up, and you carried your air, allowed you to go up there, and then your legato was so much better. It was kind of in the middle of the second one. If we can go, Yeah, well, I'd love for the first legato because it's the first thing that we hear, right? Let's just start right on that l'amour. And again, breathe, right? Breathe. Don't be afraid because she's so free. She's not nervous. She would never be nervous. 10 times these people that she wouldn't care. She knows, Carmen knows, they're all there to see her. She's just one of like 50 people coming out of the cigar factory to have this smoke break, and you're the only one they're looking at, right? You don't even have to look at them because you know. Same thing happens every day. Let's go right on it. Just try, before we get into with the l'amour est un oiseau. Just sing it just without the piano for a second. See, even your L for me is too horizontal. La, la, la. You hear it? It's like the ah is even behind the L, so that you don't go ah. It's la. Try that. Yeah, and don't be afraid of keeping that wonderful height as you come down, because that's what's going to allow the voice to get across the orchestra. And it's not even about being loud, it's about being clear, right? One more time, same thing, and then we're going to add the piano. Same thing. Because you're going to go up, now I remember now it's the second verse because it's on ah instead of z, right? You want to say the closed E, but you don't want it to be tight in your throat as well. You want it to be closed in your mouth, but still open in your throat. Maybe that's a weird concept for some people, but it helps me. And it came to me while I was singing a lot of French stuff because it's so close. And if it's not closed, they're like, that's not the word. And they won't buy it. I remember the first time I sang Carmen in Paris, and it's like I had sung at Scala, I had sung at a bunch of places before then, and they were like, yeah, it's pretty good. Let's work. And I was like, okay. And so what the diction the level of diction that they wanted from me is what in this country would have been, oh, that's too tight. Oh, that's whatever. But they still wanted it. So I had to figure out a way to still make it close enough to their language while not getting tight in my throat. So let us find refusé that has enough space in it to where you can go up the octave on the D. So just go refusé and stay on that to find something. So go from refusé and find a way to get your tongue without getting tight high enough to make the E vowel. Now go up. Do you feel a difference? Yeah. You feel how much air is already flowing through there, so then you don't have to, in that glissando somewhere, when can I get back on my support? Yeah. When am I not going to hear the bump? The trick is to never really get off of the support in the first place, right? So let's get into that. Just go. Good breath, though. Good breath. Tall. Good for you. You did the same exact thing, right? You used the same closed E vowel that you needed for refusé, and you did it on the A. Great. Let's jump. I'm sure I'm not the only first person to say make sure just to keep your vowels tall, right? I know it. Because it just makes all the difference in the world. There are lots of ways. I mean, this building is like built for singing, right? Visually and acoustically, it's gorgeous. But I think like it's just, one of the maestros at AVA used to say like two huge cruise ships, right? That are like two skyscrapers that are incredibly tall, and they're next to each other, but they're not touching, right? There's just that tall kind of like, oh, I'm sending it right through a very narrow passage. Otherwise, if we get like this, we're way off, going off the wrong track. Let us go. Can we just do l'amour, s'il te plaît. Yeah, I'm in the wrong key now. Ooh, like an owl. There you go. pressing on it, it's dragging you, which is making the pitch go a little bit.
Okay.
If you could go la mu, instead of la mu. Even in my voice, you hear how it dampens it a little bit because on that M, I'm pressing on it, kind of on purpose to show it. But if you go la mu, you can actually hum that and make sure that there's a space, even though your lips are closed. You can't just go. It's got to be. You feel the difference? Try that l'amour.
Sorry.
You could go on. She'll catch it. Now. Whoa, yes. Do you feel the difference? I need you to do it again, just to make sure that we all don't think that was an accident.
I can do it.
No, you can do it. You just did it. Beautiful. You did it well even there. Oh, you didn't do so well on that one because you're like, oh, this one's not hard. This is not as hard. Going up, it was great. And when it came down, l'amour, yours went l'amour, and it got caught not quite having that same beauty that we've. Here's the thing. If you show us the beauty of your voice and don't give it to us all the time, we know we're missing it. If you never show it to us, then we're like, well, maybe she doesn't have it. But if you show it to us, then you've got to give it to us all the time, right? And that's just the idea of what this technique stuff is doing, right? We want it to be sparkly, yet also colorful, especially for Carmen. I mean, like your shirt, right? Like what you're doing. Like that's that character, right? We want the sparkle, but we also want the dark, right? One more same time, same thing. Nice tall M coming down. You're great. Just keep going. Let's jump to the second part. I want to get to another high note that I want you to just be able to do this same beautiful tall track that we've got there. Is it the prolongado? That's why it's the highest in the F sharp in here. So let's just go si tu ne m'aimes pas. Yeah. Okay. Before we get there, just only because if that's the best legato you can give in this part, you're not going to have what you want to have to get up to the top. You hear how it's like it's always on this guy. Just say si tu ne m'aimes pas. You're not singing like that, but if you did, it would be better. Try to sing it just the way that you did. The air is moving through the consonants just like it's moving through the vowels, right? And because you're using more air, you're realizing, oh gosh, I need a bigger breath. Well, take that bigger breath and let's try it again. Your it's called great. The N is getting stuck a little bit. Good. Good breath. I'm gonna help you with this, right? Part of it is the G, right? The G, where you are saying the G, and I mean in pitch, not like in placement, you're staying on that note. And it's not quite ringing as high as it needs to for us to be like, yeah, she really got it. Pro, ga, 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 ga. You can't go pro. I'm going to just sing this for you. Pro, ga, pro, ga. If you get stuck there, pro, ga. You hear how when you get up there, wherever you say that G, that is where the note is going to stick. So don't say it until you get. I love the kind of scooping of the air up there and making sure that it keeps your throat open. Just try that without the piano. Yeah. What do you think, guys? No. That was just for getting it right. We want to hear that again, don't we? Yeah! Do it. It was great. It was amazing. Praga. No, you don't need to go on the end. First off, you don't want to say the end. She's like, oh my God, I did it so well, everybody loved it. Can I do it again? You totally can. You don't need to say the end. Praga. Even in correct French, you would not say that end. Praga. Now do it with Carmen attitude, and we'll go to the next singer. Actually, let's just do the whole. Let's give her a couple of phrases. Si tu ne m'aimes pas. Yes. Open up. Come on. Be the character. Do it. Good. Very nice. Okay, so I will get a little bit talky just about placement, and you guys, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. We know you have to go to class, but we really appreciate you guys coming. Ciao. I'm gonna talk a little bit about placement, right? Because for me, I like to have the color of the back, but to me, you're not thinking, or it doesn't sound like you're hitting back and up. It sounds like you're just hitting back, which means that we get a bit of a veil on the sound, right? And so everybody knows we want to go, sun, no moon. We want to make that difference, right? You help yourself out by picking a better vowel on sun. I know it's not exactly the way we're going to say it, right? We have to have one that's got like, the brilliance of the sun, so that when we go to do the color of the moon, we haven't already given a color that's too close to what we're going for the moon. Can we just, I'm not sure if it's a placement issue, or I'm not sure if it's just the way you envision your vowels. So tell me which vowels you're saying, total eclipse. Just say it, just speak it. It's a little bit like already too much, right? It's only in the back. I need the back and the up, right? Because what it will do, it will take away that kind of, I'm being like this. There are some, this is a very like English tenor sound. I don't hear, if that was your voice, then I would be like, it's balanced. I don't hear that, right? So I think if you could just incorporate a little bit taller as well as the back, you get that like question mark, cobra, whatever you want to call it. That's a really thing. Just do the first total eclipse. Do you feel a difference? Yeah. Can you sing it the old way? I want to hear how to. Don't sing it. I just wanted to make sure you got the difference. So do it the better way, right? Or the way that just has a little bit more of your color in it. Now, which vowel are you going to pick for a sun? No sun.
Almost like a no son.
Let's hear it. I like that.
No son.
Can you put a little ah in there? Can you just mix a little ah into that?
No son.
I think that's the one you want. Do we like that one? Yeah. Because also, listen, the other one was not bad, but what it helps by giving us that is that you've given us sunshine, and now we can go to that silvery place where the moon shine, right? So dude, no sun.
No sun.
Great.
No moon.
And just to be super picky, I would even not just, I would say no sun, no moon. You're doing a very closed no. Save it for the color of the moon and give us no sun. Because I can't, and this damn mask, I can't. I don't even know how you guys are singing with these things on right now, but yeah. So just try that. Do it. Go. Your son is just for sake of solidifying it.
No sun, no moon.
Beautiful. You did it beautifully. I would just to increase the chance of you getting the color that you want the first time. No moon. I would put the M on the pitch. Or at least closer than you're going, no moon. Which means that you're closing down your space and then trying to go up in pitch at the same time. You're doing two contrary things. Let's unify them, right? No moon. And you get that beautiful, you could maybe be softer, more colorful if you do it that way.
No moon.
I like that. You like that? All dark. Let's go. I would get a little bit more. This is what you're doing. All dark. You want a little bit of that molten kind of like especially down there, right? There are two ways you can get it. You can go in, you get really like kind of forward and nasal. The one that I like is all dark. You hear how it's like it has the color of the but it's got the sizzle that we want to have to make it travel. All dark.
All dark.
Good. Go on. Go on, go on. Spin your act. Do you want to take that breath?
No, I don't want.
Ideally, no, right? Because you just went all dark and then breathe all dark. Stay on the same track.
Right.
If you breathe, you got to recreate that track. So you either have to take a really well-executed breath where your throat stays completely out of the way, or you just try and move it a little bit, which I think is safer. And when we're nervous, we want safer, right? Let's go all dark.
All dark, amidst the blaze of.
Yeah, and you can move it more than that. You know, I mean, this doesn't all have to be slow, right? Like Handel, although it's Baroque, there's a little bit of stretch, especially in this, which is kind of very recipe as it is, right? Very declamatory. So I would move it all dark, like John Vickers would, right? Like he would just sing the hell out of this, and you'd just be like, I mean, I've heard him do it, not live, but I've got the CD, and it's amazing. And you're just like, you actually could see the eclipse from the colors that he's painting with his voice. Let us go, yeah. Actually, we can go on. You know what I'm looking for with that, and you can play with it. If you really feel like you need that breath, then that's fine. Where's the yeah, right of the page turn. Up tall. You cannot sing the other way. Not when this is so much better. I mean, right? It's so much more colorful and free. The other one is not a bad sound at all. It's just like it's all for you, and we want to get more of it, right? When we get that, let's just go right. Same thing.
Oh, glorious light, no cheering ray to glad mine eyes with
Put that W, like we were talking about throwing darts earlier, put it up there. Yeah, but on pitch too, right? Not just, don't go with. Do it like 5 times. I'm not doing it to be like, oh gosh, I can do it. It's about just creating and getting in the rhythm of making sure that the air does what it needs to do in order, because you got to go with. You can't go with, because that stays here, and that's actually not good English diction. So, with. You can do better. With. This is closer to the airspeed that we need in order for that to be a free note. You understand? So use that, and we go on. Maybe get into it so you don't have to just go right on the with. Put the I there.
no sun, no moon.
Oh, you can make it better. You can make it better. Here's the thing. I don't want it spread, right? I just want ah in it. No sun, no sun. You see how much like you have to open your jaw in order to get the ah? Not spread, but ah. I just wanted to do that one note. Sorry, guys. But it's like really, like you know, trying to do surgery here and you can't even, you know. Come on.
No sun, no moon, all dark amidst the blaze of.
Same thing. Put that blah of the blaze up there. Don't scoop, because here's the thing. Listen, there's a difference between taking your air to get you up there, which we've heard Other people do really well. Sometimes you've done it even still in this one. And doing what I consider is like kind of just like a scoop, which is almost like a ratchet on your throat. We're just tightening it up to get up there. Belays, no, we want same thing, P's, B's, which is just the voice of the P. We want to blaze up, not we got to get the air moving. The speed has to be faster. How do we get into the blaze? Yeah. Tall, skinny. Tall. Yeah, keep going. Listen, you just, whatever, let's talk about this, just because you know what, this is something where I know I'm not the only person to have said this to you, right? But what is an imagery that helps you think about having that up and back as opposed to just back? I mean, we can go marionettes, we can go the shape of this building, we can go cruise ships, skyscrapers. You pick the one that seems to resonate the best with you because you totally are getting it. I'm not sure what you're thinking in order to do it, but you need to like write that on your mirror. So every day when you're brushing your teeth, you're like, I'm going to sing my vowels that way. Right. You know what I mean? How would you word it?
I mean, I don't necessarily have an image in my mind. I just kind of think about like the corners in my mouth.
Well, that's an image. That's an image, but I would encourage you to put another layer of something on there to visualize it in a way, whatever that is. I mean, I say this for the whole room, right? Because I think this is the kinds of things. How many times have all of us been in our voice studio with our teacher, and we get something, and the teacher's like, yes, and if there's somebody like an audience like this, everybody's like, yes. What is the missing link, right, from when we got that to then when we go to the practice room? Well, how did I do it? And I'm not saying this is 100% foolproof, because it's not. But you've got to have at least some tools in your tool chest to be able to say, well, I don't know, I did this, or I was thinking this, or he touched me here like the back of my head, oh, I was hitting that. Is it the question mark? Is it the cobra? These are all kinds of things to say more or less the same thing, right? So find one and let's go. We're going to finish this off, and then we can have a really long question and answer session, or if somebody has their music, or I can get it on my iPad, somebody else can sing if you guys want to. It's up to you guys, I don't know. Or I can sing, whatever. We'll do something. We'll do something fun. Let's just pick up where we left off. Yeah. Sun, moon,
Sun, moon, and stars.
Same thing. On your star, even though there's no pitch. Sun, moon, and star. If you go stars, you hear even in my throat, it gets that, yeah, and we don't want that. We don't want it. It's different than a portamento. And I'm not trying to say, oh, he's so sterile in his singing. No, it's not that. And it probably is because I've done a lot of French that I had to figure out the way to do this. They won't let you slide like that. But I realized in taking them out, I was singing in such a more efficient and clean way. Really. Sun, moon, and stars.
Sun, moon, and stars.
Tall.
Sun, moon, and stars are dark to me.
Now listen, in order to help you, you did really well with the D on the pitch. I loved it. Where your air stopped moving is on your L's. All, you got stuck. Could you just go all down the octave for now? All dark. Dude, just sing exactly what
I think it's R.
Is it? What is it?
Yeah.
It's not all dark? Oh, R dark, right. Okay, well, whatever consonant you say there, definitely if you're going R, no. R, dark, R. You just need the back there, right? Almost like, we should do it almost like French without the part, right? R, dark. Try it. Well, fine, okay. You just did too. I was asking you to down the octave, but you did it beautifully up the octave. No, but do you understand how the consonants, if we don't give them the equal amount of attention that we give the vowels, well, oftentimes they become like the stumbling block. They're like, oh, shoot, why that high note didn't sit so well because of the the L or the M or the something leading up to it started to bring in the tension, even if it's just like 1 pound here, 1 pound here, 1 pound here. If you're carrying 5 extra pounds by the time you get to the high note, we're going to hear that you might be a little bit tired, right? Well, this is good. I mean, let's just finish it off, and then we'll see what we're going to do next. Up. I want to find a better vowel. It still sounds like It sounds like Yeah. There are some people who teach vowel modification towards that. I don't think we're high enough in your voice for that yet. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't. I love sun, moon, and star. I can't sing with this thing. Sun, moon, and star. You hear how it's got a little bit of and it's got in it, right? Try and see if you can find with that height. Sun, moon, and stars. Definitely the better direction, yeah? What do you feel like? Did you just try it again and you got better, or did you try to like?
Thinking more. I also think this, like F sharp in particular, is a very.
Well, this is why I asked about what vowel you were trying to sing on that, right? Because I don't want to get too much into be like changing things. You know, really. I mean, if you could take away with this of 2 things that we worked on today, just really keep not just the back, but the high back. Like I like to think of it as like a parasail. You ever go to the beach and like they've got those, you know, they're getting pulled on the thing, and the sail comes up like this, right? And that it's the air that's keeping it up. You can't posture that. And I think a lot of tenors in particular try to like, I'm creating all this space. But the thing is, you can open it that way, but you have to allow the air to be what keeps it open. Otherwise, you just sound like you're doing that. And that's not a natural sound, right? I'm not saying that you're doing that. I'm just saying that this is it's hard to get into these kinds of things, right? Like, because it's very easy to just keep it I'm going to keep it very, like my first teacher taught me to sing like, questo quello per me parisora. You know, but after a while it became so exaggerated that people started to say, well, if you keep singing like this, you're going to be like a character tenor, right? Or a comprimario tenor singing like Goro and stuff. And we think that we know because we've heard you sing before that you have a rounder sound to this. And it's trickier to do it that way, right? But you're at the state when your voice is good enough to where you deserve to go with your teacher into those places and, you know, practice as much as you can. Don't drive it, you know, because this is a tenor conundrum, right? We want to practice so much, but if you practice like hard on your throat every day, well, you just get into deficit and you don't even remember what your chords feel like healthy, and that's also bad. But that's why I'm talking with you a lot, like more than I have with the other ones for a reason, right? Because we need to intellectualize these concepts and have a clear, like, you know, plan of practice when we go to do these things, so that we're not just like, oh, let's see what sticks to the wall today. There's not enough time for that, right? This is too complicated. And for the kind of singing that tenors and baritones to some extent, but we sing so much higher than where we speak, that we really have to plan how we're going to do this. So, but really, I think you found some great, I hope you had some good aha moments. Yeah. All right, good job, buddy. Good, buddy. I mean, I totally would sing, but I can't sing with the mask, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So, do you guys just want to chat, or does anybody else want to sing? You do it? Oh, yeah? Oh, gosh. I mean, I'm a little bit warmed up. I'm fully vaccinated. I'm even up for the third. I'll give my booster if I need it. If it means I can go back to work, I'm ready. Can we do like Donna non vidi mai? It's not too bad. Do I have it? Oh, yes. Which one? The first one? Yeah, okay, let's do that one. That's more fun, actually. Oh, we're going to be fun. F major, we just stay there, baby. We'll be fine. And you can do... You have to remind me what I need to do. Yeah. which Susan requested actually kind of, is Record di Armonia, which is from Tosca, which is what I'm doing in London. It, incidentally, is the first aria I ever learned, which is a lot to bite off to chew. It was not my choice, which we talk about in Dr. Aronson's course, about how, you know, when you get songs that maybe your teacher wants you to do, or the real reason was because they were doing this Maria Callas masterclass play. Part of that, one of the character that he thought I could try out for has to sing Recondita Armonia. So that's why we did it. But that being said, although it's tricky and the tessitura is kind of difficult, it's really about legato, right? Recondita armonia di bellezze diverse. Learning how to do double consonants and things like this with keeping the air going. So, well, here's my best attempt, having not sung today other than what I did here. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. You're very kind, and I'm happy to do what I've spent so much of my life trying to do, and thankfully my voice is actually in pretty good shape, actually. So, but I mean, you know, Dr. Price and I were talking earlier, you know, and we're always learning something. I mean, I'm 42 years old. I started studying seriously when I was 18, but not really, really seriously probably until I was about 20 or 21. As far as taking it really seriously. Also, I was so young. What did I know? You know what I mean? But we're constantly learning. I mean, something that I was reading in one of the MPV textbooks was like, oh, am I saying that right? MVP textbooks. Yes, it was like about the nasal port, about had the passage back here. It's like, we talk so much about soft palate, but then there's also the kind of, you know, you wanted to have the lift, but here. Anyway, the point being is there's constantly things that we're going to be learning and addressing and thinking, oh, because the voice changes, right? My voice now, as it was 5 years ago, as 10, forget about even like, you know, when I left AVA, I was 30. 12 years ago, it's kind of like, it's somewhat similar, but not even close. The sound is similar, but the feel is night and day. And the repertoire that I sang for a long time, I still can hit those notes, but I can't, you know, what you're saying. La Boheme has 2 high C's, Guillaume Tell has 21. You know, it's like, it's just a kind of different thing and how it grows. So if there's anything that you guys are curious about career, about managers, about anything, just let me throw it out there. There's no silly questions.
And at 6:30 in Fine Arts 147, we'll actually have a whole session devoted to that.
Are these the same people?
These might be the same.
Oh, we'll save them for the save that for that.
But if you cannot come because you have a class or something, then this is your opportunity, okay, to ask those questions.
All right. Yes, absolutely.
Because a lot of times, as you're going, as a singer gets older,
Sure.
they sing different repertoire. A lot of singers leave college or young artist program and go to Europe, and now they're singing in a 600-seat theater, and they're singing repertoire that's bigger than they would sing at the Met.
Sure.
How do you deal with that?
Well, you know, it's an interesting question, right? Because although the size of the theater and how many seats are different, the orchestra size is the same. So this is a very curious thing, and I have to say, I figured that out because when I did Tosca the first time, I did it in Bordeaux, which is like a 1,300-seat house. And the Tosca orchestra, the Puccini orchestra, is big. And along with being big, Puccini, the way that he writes a lot of times, the orchestration, the strings double the singer, which is helpful for knowing your line and hearing it, but it's less helpful if you're not really making, you know, the full use of all your overtones and singer's formant and all these things to get out over that. Because if you try and sing through it, you're just going to get plowed down in the mud, and you're going to get tired, and you won't make it probably even past Act 1. But I would say that really I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the more I can think, tall, but still have the color. It's not just about, I mean, yes, I want to have the color of a beautiful sound, but that's also the way that my thinking this, I think, tricks my throat into staying neutral or open, but not that held open kind of sound that we want, right? And that like rainbow coming out of the back of my head that goes up to the balcony, that's the thing I think that really, especially as I start to sing this bigger music like Tosca, like Manolosco, like Turandot, because lots of guys go, and you're like, whoa, okay. It might be impressive for a little while, and maybe they just never got to the right teacher. Maybe that's just, they just insist on singing this way, because there are a lot of tenors in particular that just, as much as we want to get it, sometimes we can't get it. You know what I mean? It's just the way things go. But if you can, and if you get a singer that really can, these are the ones that tend to really be special singers, I think, throughout you know, the opera world. But I would say just trust, you know, if it is very difficult if you were to go over to Europe or Germany in particular, or Austria or Switzerland and get a fest contract where you're singing lots of different things. You know, these things, it's always the balance, and this is going to bleed into tonight, about what can I get paid to do so that I can live and pay my bills, and what is the best thing for me, for my voice. Very often they don't line up. So you have to end up splitting the difference the best you can. I mean, when I came out of ABA, I was offered Rusalka at the Wexford Festival. So Rusalka, kind of a heavy role, quite frankly. I didn't realize how heavy it was until I got with the orchestra, because there are also lighter Czech singers and people who can kind of get away with it. But I tell you, Petra Long was singing the High Priest, or the Foreign Princess. Rusalka's the Little Mermaid story, right? In case you don't know it. Doesn't end so well, though. The Disney version does. But she sings like she was singing Brunhilde's and Isolde's and stuff. So I mean, this woman's voice, I remember she buzzed me one night, and that's when like somebody like sings right in your ear and you like lose the ability. She didn't do it on purpose, but like I was on my knees and I had to like hug her like this. And because my ear was close to her abdomen but not on it, it just went. It was in a performance too, and I remember I was like, I don't know what I sang after that, at least for the next, say, 30 seconds. But you know, you just have to go and do it, and don't push past. It's like we're driving your car. You know, if you start seeing it revving up and you're getting close to the red, you got to back off. You got to. No paycheck is big enough None, really. I mean, maybe Britney Spears' like paycheck. Like in the millions, you're like, okay, I'll take a shot. In general, they're just not, because even the best paycheck is going to be spent in a year or two. And so you just have to really be disciplined. And I say this is for guys more or less, but also I've unfortunately seen some of my soprano colleagues also do it. And mezzos too, not so much the Carmens, but although Carmen, because it can get so low, a lot of the girls that have sung Carmen many times, they start to have pitch issues. And that's why, another tricky thing, the opera world is very specialized right now. You're a Rossini, or you're a this, or you're a bel canto, or you're a thing. And when I was coming out of school, it was, you wanted to show scope and breadth of what you could do as much as possible. But now they want to hear somebody be like, Larry Brownlee or Flores, just with like machine gun, super clean things. Like, I never had that, right? I was able to move my voice. I was happy to sing the Messiahs that I did when I was around and I could get hired to do them. But was it like that, guys? No. But they never even, I think the heaviest they would sing is like the Duke and Rigoletto, which is now, I wouldn't even sing it anymore because it's just what I need for that, or what the voice needs to sing that role well, is too hard for me to do anymore. Yet, fortunately, there's a need for people to sing the repertoire that I do like singing now. So it's all about like navigating, and it's if my teacher for my arts administration course was here, it's like there's no one right answer for everything, and you have to make sure that that you look at all the factors that are in here. If you're singing for this manager, if you're singing for this program, if you're trying to pick your 5 arias, what do you want to show that you can just fall out of bed doing? What do you want to show as your stretch? And also being realistic. You don't want to set, you don't want your first competition or your second competition to be the Met competition, for instance. You want to go out and get nervous. One thing I would say if I was, that I would want to hear if I was in you guys' seats is to sing in public as often as possible. Master class, studio class, church, whatever. Really just get out and have it be second nature. My last year at AVA, I think I did something like 42 auditions, and I got 4 jobs out of it, And that's me as a tenor. I'm not saying that's me, I should have got more. But I mean, as a tenor, of which there are not so many of us, and I'm not saying that to be discouraging, I'm saying that so that you guys know what you're up against, and don't let it discourage you. Let it make you double down to be like, I'm going to practice an hour longer, or I'm not going to go out drinking tonight because I've got to sing, or I really need to get this tomorrow. If there's anything I've learned as I've gotten older, there's always going to be more food to drink, to eat. There's always going to be more dessert to have. There's always going to be more glasses of wine and stuff and fun party nights. Right now, what you need to do is just spend as much time as you can singing, knowing your voice, staying healthy, and learning your languages, quite frankly. That's the one thing. It's much, you can go and do these things online, like Rosetta Stone or Babbel or any of these kinds of things, and start getting into these languages very inexpensively, especially right now after COVID. It was like, these things used to be $500 for a year or 2 years. Now you get $500 and you can have it for the rest of your life or something. Really, Italian, French, German, if your voice tends to lend itself to French, like the Manon stuff, or Italian, or French, or you have actually a very interesting Germanic color, I think, and I think that I would love to hear you sing something, maybe like Freischütz or Tamino, even in a bigger, but if you don't have a facility in the language, when you're starting to try and sing in that language, you don't even know what you're trying to approximate. You have to have spent the time, or, take one summer to work your butt off, and then the next summer, try not to spend that money, and go to Europe. Go to Europe for 2 weeks. 2 weeks is better than nothing. A month, when I went, I did one, this was in 2002, that I went over to Italy, and the first thing I did was a little 3-week kind of singy, quasi, let's learn Italian. We were in Orvieto, a small town in Italy. It was fun, everybody spoke English, so it was a bunch of Americans and Canadians. And so we only spoke Italian like when we went out to a cafe or a restaurant, or if we were trying to be like really good students. Well, then after that, I went to this thing in Perugia, which is called the University for Foreigners, Università per Stranieri, so for foreigners. And these people were like, they wanted to get a job working in a museum and be able to give tours in another language. Now that's where I really learned. Well, I mean, I'm not a great Italian speaker, but I've worked there enough, and that was a really wonderful base. And that was cheap. I mean, that was probably, this is 15 years ago, it was maybe like $1,500 for a month's tuition. Now I had to find room and board, but I mean, I had a room in somebody's house for like $200, $300 a week or something like that. But I mean, if you were able to get $5,000, $8,000 together and do that, or get your parents or apply for scholarships, I mean, there are lots of ways that people want to help educate artists. It's out there, and I think that's the best use of your time. You're at a great school with great teachers. Everybody sang really, really well, and is on a great path. So I mean, you know, it's the odds are not that, you know, easy, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. I think everybody who sang today has a real shot, and I'm sure everybody else who could have sung today, you wouldn't be here if you didn't. You know what I mean? So, any other questions? Repertoire? Something? Yeah, buddy.
So I'm a musical theater singer.
Yeah.
How would you suggest going about like with languages and with the idea of like breadth and pushing for like a musical theater major in contrast to it?
Sure. Well, listen. Okay, I'm sure a lot of us got our start in musical theater, and if we went into classical, it was because maybe our voice was a little bit more suited to that. See, like, I'm jealous of you, right? Because I never could sound like the musical theater guys, even as I tried to. I have learned a little bit more that it's a lot about, you know, the vowel choice and the way, and also the way that you breathe. I mean, if you're using the microphone, you don't need to take such a big breath to put out all that kind of sound. You know, but it is tricky, right? All I can say, like right off the bat from listening to your question, is that if you think about the speed of the air, it's much harder to squeeze against that and get tight if you're not thinking about supporting, which is like, oh, I'm giving it support. No. If I take this same air, but I just speed it up, you hear how it like kind of whips the air whips the resonance together, as opposed to, I mean, I lose it. You lose the focus. It's terrible. But there are a lot of people that sing opera that way, or they, maybe not for that long, but they do. They do. But, you know, ideally, that's not what we're going for. So that's the thing. It's about choosing, certainly about the tall, even though the vernacular vowels that we would use for musical theater are not so cultured in that way. There's still a way that you can kind of thread the needle through there and make sure that it's the speed of the air that gets you up there. That way you keep it, and not trying to get, because nobody, I mean, even in musical theater, even in the rock stuff, you don't want to hear somebody going too hard for it, because then you lose any kind of, you know, beauty of sound or pitch, you know. Anything else? Anybody else? We got 10 minutes. It's up to you guys, but we can stop now and have a little bit longer. Yes, there we go. Hi.
Because this is something that obviously I'm here to be a vocal performance major, I want to perform.
Sure.
It's so daunting to think that, like, you know, after this and after my master's, after college is over, what do I do? Where do I go? Where do I even start? Because I feel like no one ever.
Listen, I think after masters, or even once you're in your masters, it's time to start throwing your hat into the young artist program pool, right, and trying to see what happens with that. You know, here's the thing that what a lot of people don't tell you about young artist programs, and the competitions to an extent. These things are political, right? If you don't go and do summer programs, if you don't go to things like Aspen or Des Moines or, you know, Ames or some of these other programs, the people who tend to be making these decisions or judging or being on the panel of who's going to get through the next, if they don't recognize your name or something like that, well, you don't have as good of a chance to make it to the live audition or to make it to the finals audition, things like this. Now, that's not to say if you haven't already done it, you can't do it, it's you know, there's no choice. I'm just saying that by putting yourself out there and trying to do that, it makes the odds go up a lot. Also, I think we all, and we were talking about this before outside, we all need to decide for ourselves, what is my end game? What do I have to feel like as each individual singer to feel fulfilled and to be happy in doing this, right? Like you can sing on a stage here, you can sing there. Is it about I want to be able to pay my bills doing this? Is it I want to be able to, share this joy? Or do I need to be on stage because it gives me something? All of these are valid answers, right? But I think it's a conversation that we tend not to have because there's just not that time, or maybe it's a hard conversation some teachers don't want to have with a certain student or whatever. I don't think anybody in here. But I mean, I've seen it happen. I went to school with people who I was like, I think you should have stayed a trombone major, right? Like, I don't think you, I mean, like, I'm sorry. No, but I'm just being honest. Like, that's a real story. And this guy's still a friend of mine, and he was like, well, I wish you had told me sooner because it would have saved me a lot of trouble. I mean, but this is the kind of thing you understand when you get older, right? It's like, we have to be honest with ourselves at some point. Because you're the only one who can be so honest, because you're the only one who knows what you really want out of it. And like, if I wanted to be a ballet dancer, it's like, well, you know what, Bryan, you probably should want to be something else because you don't have the body type, you don't have the coordination, you don't have this. But what you do have is this, this, and this, right? And so I think, sooner than later, it's better to have that kind of conversation. But this is not to be discouraging, right? Like really, I think if you're finishing your master's and you're coming up on this, that I really think that, trying to find the money to go to a program, and if it's a pay to sing like Aspen or one of these, Aspen has turned into something else. It's not what I was the 4 summers that I went there. But programs like that, Brevard or some of these other ones, Chautauqua, there are lots, Glimmerglass, Wolftrap might be, they tend to want to take people who are already in apprentice programs at opera companies. The one thing I will say is that if you don't get into an apprentice program, it's not the end of the world. I never got into it. The only one I did was Marilla. And, I'll tell the story just because it might help to, So I got into Marilla, and then they asked me to be an Adler. And I said, well, the Mets already talked to me about coming to their young artist program, so I think I'm going to wait for them. So I turned down the Adler, and then the Met said, sorry, we're going to go with somebody else. And it was already too late. Like, it was not like we're talking about a week where I could call back and say it was like 6 to 8 months. And it was at this point that I was like, you know what, I'm done with this stuff. I'm really done with this. I'm gonna go back home. I can go play organ for weddings and be a church musician and do all this kind of stuff and be a music teacher and a voice teacher and have an absolutely fulfilled life. And then it was like, well, and then somebody called and said, listen, before you do that, before you pack it up and go home, why don't you have some lessons with this teacher who teaches at ABA? It's free if you get in there. Okay, great. I said, fine. What is it going to cost me for, the 3 or 4 months to see, and I do the audition? And then it worked that I got in, but even still, there were only 2 people of a panel of 8 that wanted me there. The other 6 were like, no, but they pushed. So, I mean, I can be encouraging and realistic at the same time, right? And that's a decision that you and your loved ones have to make, and you do the best you can, and then you just see what happens. If there's anything in this career, I've realized that I can do everything I can, and I try, especially when I was building my career, to do everything I could to make sure that I knew everything as well as I possibly could. And then when Jonas Kaufman decides he can't sing Les Troyens, they call me because they knew I've already done it. And then when Marcello Giordani at the Mets struggling with the same thing, they call me because I've already done it. And if I hadn't gone above to try to learn a role that everybody told me was maybe a little bit too difficult, but the first time I did it in Amsterdam in a very small place. Not very small, but not Covent Garden or the Met, let's say. But I went and did it, and it's so funny. The casting director said, well, you did well, but I wouldn't do it again. The same guy, the literal same guy, 4 years later calls me and says, would you come and do this for us? I reminded him of what he said. He's like, yes, but you're singing so well now. I said, you're so full of it. You're so full of it. You just need me to come. But in the end, because I had lived with that role for 4 years, I did sing it much better. And quite frankly, the production was a lot better, and it was easier for me to sing. I know you have a question, right? Yes?
Yeah, I was going to ask, how many piercings did you do before you kind of raised your salary?
4. Yeah, I had a lot, right? Like Aspen, I'm sure is super duper expensive now, but I mean, yeah, I spent $5,000 a summer for a good, now that was not every summer, but like certainly twice in my undergrad, I spent $5,000. Again, that's 15 years ago. And then twice after, between my undergrad and when I got to ABA, or even after ABA, or while I was still at ABA rather, I did it again 2 more. It's a rough estimate, and even as a tenor, right? Now the first 2 Aspens I paid for, the second 2 Aspens I didn't because I sang roles. But it just, are you mezzo? You're a soprano. You sounded kind of mezzo-y, but I can tell you have a very colorful soprano voice. Obviously the odds are trickier for you guys, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. It's so often about, the people who do these programs sit around and be like, oh, what would be a great show for us to do next summer? Okay, let's do that. It either goes that way, or they say, oh, I think singer XYZ is doing really well. Wouldn't it be great to do this show for them? And then they just fill in the pieces. Aspen is absolutely a Juilliard of the West. Like some of the Glimmerglass and Chautauqua and a lot of these other ones tend to be filled with people that are in Washington and the Met and stuff like this. So, I'm not saying this to say that you can't do it. I'm just saying understand how the system works so that you can then, kind of hack the system. As if we're not hack it, but you at least, if you don't know the rules of the game, you can't even start to try to really play it. Yes?
No, I'm just going to say, why don't we let you take a little bit?
Okay.
And let's all thank this wonderful.
Woohoo! Yes, thanks everybody watching online. Thank you guys. Yeah, we have fun, don't we? Right on, okay. Oh, it was so fun. Thank you, Kathy.